So to pick up where we left off about mask mandates
Mhm.
and vaccines in schools, should those be parental choice as well? How do you feel on those
100%.
topics?
It's not even much of a question for me. Um, any type of medical or health, situation, condition, whatever it may be, medical device, all of that needs to be done through the parent. As the adult, they must consent to any type of medical treatment or requirement for a kid. And that includes everything from vaccines to masks to maybe it's a blood sugar thing for diabetes or whatever it may be. All of that needs to go through the parent or the guardian of the child. And what we saw obviously in 2020 and 2021 was that taken out of the hands of the child of the parents and said, no, this is falls under the school system because it's for the security and safety of the child, something of that nature. Every school uses slightly different language. That is a no-no. The government does not get to tell a parent what they can do or can't do in regards to medical with their children, and that's a
I,
hard no.
uh, I appreciate that. Also, I'm guessing along that same vein, you feel the same way about employer or federally mandated vaccines related to employment or anything like that.
Yes, so we have a constitution for a reason, and the constitution limits government on what they can and cannot do. The constitution gives us our bodily autonomy. And what I mean by that is, we're secured in our places, our persons, and our effects. It says our persons. So when I was a police officer, we couldn't just take someone who we thought was drunk and take them to the hospital and have them jabbed and take their blood. We couldn't do that without their permission. So what makes us think that we can do the reverse and give them something without their permission? Every single
Mm.
person's health is their own. It's between them and their doctor. As long as what they're doing is not directly affecting the rights of another, it's no business of someone else's. It's just that
Uh,
simple.
Thank you for that answer. And then I'm going to talk to you about the taxes in Alabama. Reportedly, there was a 1.3 billion surplus, and taxes are still rising in Alabama.
hmm
What do you propose the state do with that excess funding, and how do you feel on the gas tax? Since we're talking about taxes, how do you feel about those things? And are you aware of the amendment that's coming up that was sponsored by Nathaniel Ledbetter, where we have this excess funding? However, he is proposing that we borrow $83 million to support the state parks. I love state parks. I live between two. They're beautiful. However, borrowing 83 million or whatever it is and we have a
I think
surplus,
it's
taxes
85
are still
million.
rising. I mean, that's a lot of money to be borrowing. So how do you feel on that various topics there of taxes?
So if we have a 1.3 billion surplus, obviously you want some money in reserves and a savings account, so to speak, for emergencies. Whatever that may look like, emergency deployment of the National Guard or something of that nature. You want some reserves. However, if we're looking at a $1.3 billion surplus and you're looking at taxes continuing to be raised and may be raised, like the gas tax, for example, every 2 years, 1 cent, without any type of legislative vote or people to vote on it, rather a select committee to vote on it. That, besides being taxation without representation, is uncalled for, unnecessary, and just goes to show how corrupt our state really is. If we cannot use the amount of money that we have now properly, what makes us think that adding more to those coffers will help anything? Borrowing money, $85 million, I think is what the number is, on that amendment to pay for parks. Like you said, I'm a big wildlife guy, big outdoors guy. I run Keep Lee County Beautiful. I'm big on cleaning up our community, doing it in a community-focused way. We don't need to be borrowing $85 million if we have a $1.3 billion surplus. If the parks really need help, then the legislature needs to allocate the money properly. What we have, though, and this is kind of the big problem that a lot of times doesn't get a lot of focus, is we have a big problem with earmarking Our state budget has a ton of earmarks. Majority of all the money is earmarked, which means that if we really wanted to reallocate money, let's say infrastructure, our hands are tied because without going back and removing some legislation, because everything's already been earmarked. This percentage goes to this amount goes to here, this amount goes to there. And so with the actual, leftovers that the legislature gets is, pennies on a dollar compared to what it really should be. Balanced budgets are important, but having everything earmarked ahead of time is not smart. It really restricts your ability to flex and flow with the state of the economy, with the state of the world, changes in importance of economies and industries. That's something that needs to be addressed. I think kind of needs to be addressed before anything else gets addressed, is all these earmarks. Because I'm 100% against the 2019 gas tax increase. I don't think it was necessary. I think our budget increases over the year after year after year after year show it wasn't necessary. But part of the problem is we need to unearmark dollars so that we can actually allocate money properly and do the best we can and steward the money that the people of Alabama have given to the government, whether they wanted to give it to them or not, and do it in a way that is the correct way and do it in a way that's actually going to benefit the citizens rather than a certain special interest group or a lobbyist organization. They're not the the voice of the people. The voice of the people comes through the people that elect the representatives, and those are the people we need to be listening to.
Absolutely. And I have found more and more, and it's been accentuated over the past 2 years, that those voices are ignored. And now they're starting to speak up, and some of our legislators are thinking, oh, well, they're being mean. I don't think it's being they're mean. I think now they're finally holding you accountable to do your
Right.
job, and you're just not accustomed to it, which is back on us as citizens because I became complacent. I didn't ask the right questions. I just assumed because we were a conservative state, we didn't have to worry about it here. So, there is one thing, though, that as I was researching and going back, I found that there is already a book law on the books that under a state of emergency gives the state health officer and his or her designee the ability to come into your home without warrant and to treat you involuntarily and take you to a place of confinement and treat you the way they want to, whether you have proof of an infection or not. And that's something that I feel like, and our members, once we discovered it and shared it, they were like, oh man, that's something else that we need to really look at. And it goes back to that state health officer that we spoke at the beginning. So anything else you want to add before we go to the lightning round and we give you an opportunity to kind of tell people how they can get involved with your campaign?
Sure. One big thing I think a lot of people don't realize, and it kind of opened my eyes to this through the pandemic and everything that was going on, is the Certificate of Needs Board. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, or are you?
I know a little bit about it, but not enough to speak intelligently. So
Okay.
you educate me.
So the Certificate of Needs Board has a couple of responsibilities. Their primary responsibility is to ensure, this is, kind of their mission, is to ensure that locations, counties, cities, and so forth, municipalities, and so forth, have the required healthcare and needs, so to speak, of the community met. The problem is, it's a lobbying tool used by organizations to prevent competition in the free market. Our healthcare system, one of the biggest needs is competition. For example, in Auburn/Opelika, Alabama, there is one hospital, and during the pandemic, right when it hit, it was overwhelmed and stayed overwhelmed the entire time that the pandemic was ongoing. And of course, there's a lot of things that go with that. But what it brought to the forefront was the fact that for years, citizens have been asking for either A, the hospital be expanded, or B, a second trauma hospital be brought into the area. Well, the Certificate of Needs Board isn't going to allow that to happen. And that's because their people on the board are generally bought and paid for by a lobbyist organization that generally has the interests of the opposition or the competition at heart. You know, if a city needs more than one hospital, a second hospital is not going to come in unless they believe that they can make, ends meet and they'll make a profit. They're not going to do it. No hospital's going to, they're not going to build some giant hospital for no reason, at their own expense and go out of business. No hospital organization or network is going to do that. Competition breeds better pricing. If you have two hospitals in the same area, in general, they're going to look at each other's prices on whatever treatments they are and try to underbid the other one so that, or treat people better or whatever it may be, so that people will want to go to a certain hospital. Well, Certificate of Needs Boards prohibits that from happening. Certificate of Needs Boards determines where a mental health facility is built, if there's one built. I was talking to a veteran gentleman down in Mobile they finally got permission and approval to build a mental health clinic for veterans down in Mobile. And they were fought tooth and nail at the Certificate of Needs Boards by one up in Birmingham because they didn't want competition in the state. It's a tool used by lobbyists to prevent competition, and done so under the guise of trying to help people and through government. I think that's a big thing that needs to get taken care of and removed. Now there's a lot of things to it. Medicare and Medicaid gets tied in through the Certificate of Needs Board and a bunch of other stuff. So it'd be a complex issue to deal with, but it's definitely something we need to figure out and fix, because the best thing we need, the number one thing we need in healthcare right now is competition. That's healthcare insurance. That's healthcare systems. That's prices on medication. We need competition. Right now we don't have
absolutely.
that.
And when there's no accountability, it's a breeding ground for corruption.
Correct.
And you don't have that free enterprise system to help keep it accountable. So those are excellent points, and thank you for bringing that out. We'll go to the lightning round questions, and then we will, I know you're going to do great with those, and then we'll talk about how people can get involved with you or find out more. So these are yes or no questions. Yes or no. Are you in favor of monopoly-run casinos in Alabama?
No.
Do you believe the COVID-19 vaccine is beneficial?
No.
Would you support bills like this legislative session's SB 312 and HB 31?
Yes.
Would you remove or attempt to remove unconstitutional regulations and permits involving oil and gas exploration, production, and transportation?
Yes.
Are you aware of the Montgomery pick list?
No.
Okay. The Montgomery pick list is known by several different names. However, it is where the GOP leadership has already chosen who they want in those positions. And there must be a reason for that so that we can keep it a part of the good old boy network. So when we refer to the Montgomery pick list, that's what it is. And it's good for our audience to also know what that is, that what you guys who are putting it out there on the line, what you're up against. It's not just that you're up against big money PACs, but you also have our own conservative, quote, leadership picking who they want to be part of the team. And there must be a reason that they need yes people. So with that being said, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for taking your time. Thank you for answering the questions and being so transparent, open, honest, direct, jumping right in there with us. So let's tell people how they can get involved with you, how they can learn more, upcoming events you may be having, maybe who they should vote for on May 24th.
So first and foremost, I'd like to point to my website. Messer is MESSER 2022.com, Messer2022.com. There you'll find everything from my stances, my bio, ways you can support me through donations, volunteer, things of that nature. That's a big thing I need coming towards May 24th. We're only 11 days away. Volunteers for poll day. To have people out at the polling locations, making sure everything's going according to plan, no issues are being done. and reaching the people there as they're coming to the polling location. So if people are in District 38 or the surrounding areas and want to support a conservative, liberty-focused candidate, they're more than welcome to sign up on that volunteer list. Give me a call. My phone number is 334-203-4165, 334-203-4165. You can call me. You can text me. If you text me, I'll probably answer you faster than if you call me because I get a bunch of spam calls every day like everybody else. But if you leave a message, I will get back to you. Those are the easiest ways to contact me, or social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Getter, Twitter, YouTube. I have a YouTube channel for my videos and stuff that are out there. So feel free to reach out those platforms as well. I'm generally pretty good at responding. If I don't, just send another message and I will get to you. It's usually, I'm pretty hectic right now, as you might expect. But so those are the easiest ways to reach out to me. I need volunteers, like I mentioned. If people want to contribute to the campaign, they're more than welcome to financially as well. We're getting into the last stretch, so I'm trying to push out as many ads and mailers and things of that nature that I can. I think it's important that the people of District 38 and people in the surrounding areas get involved with their candidates that they believe are the best candidates. Showing up and voting on the polls is obviously very important, and I'm not going to dissuade anyone from doing that. But it's also very important to get involved before that happens to ensure that the message that you believe needs to get out there. So I would encourage people to do that, whether you're in District 38 or another part of the state that you have someone you believe in. Get involved with that campaign in this last stretch. Everyone's needing it for sure. So May 24th, obviously, I'd appreciate people in District 38, your vote on May 24th for State House, State Representative for District 38. I think it's time that we have a non-status quo, non-politician person sent to Montgomery to shake things up a little bit, make some change try to happen. Of course, I'm only one person, so I can't guarantee anything, but I definitely can guarantee that some exposure will be happening if elected.
Well, that's why it's important for us to get out and elect like-minded folks across the state, because one person can't do it. One person can take a stand. But
Correct.
just like patriots coming together, we need patriots in the legislature as well. So thank you again for doing that. Thank you for your time. We'll be praying for you. Wish you all the best on May 24th. Stop by and see us at focusonamerika.us. Learn how to get involved. Be sure and follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook. We have a public and private page. You can always check us out our YouTube channel, Rumble, and at focusonamerika.us. Thank you again, Micah. We appreciate you being here, and I hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you, Rebecca. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.